It was this really exciting moment in my life. We were getting this new job, this new church family, new city. I was so excited to work for Pastor Jeff. Man, his vision for what he was doing in Bonita, I was like, man, that's where I want to be. That's what I want to do. And so we're getting ready to move to this new city. We're getting ready to be part of this new church family. But while this is happening, as I get the new job, my tongue is like swelling. There's this thing on my tongue. Like it was affecting my speech. It was affecting me being able to eat. And I was like, man, so then I did the worst thing you can do. I Googled it. And that scared me because everything said, oh, you have cancer and you're gonna die. And so I go in, they do a biopsy, and that's when I find out, 2 weeks into this new job, this new season of life, you have cancer.
In my mind, I was just thinking it was like, maybe skin cancer, like you just take off the top layer and everything is gonna be okay. But then the doctor quickly communicated to us that it was not like skin cancer at all, and that and they didn't know how deep it was into his tongue.
And my first response was, that's not my story. I have friends, and that's their story. I have family members, and that was their story. This is not how my story goes. So I ignored it, and I went back to my job, and that's when my body like shuts down. All of a sudden, my hip, it feels like my hip is broken. It's in so much pain. The next morning, I'm trying to take a shower, and as I get out of the shower, my body just collapsed to the ground, and I'm shaking on the ground, and I just start screaming, and my wife runs over to see what's wrong, and my body's just convulsing. I don't know how to explain it.
And he was just screaming out in pain. I've never seen him, in that much pain before. So we called an ambulance, and an ambulance medically transported him to the emergency room.
Doctors discovered that the stage 3 cancer in Jason's tongue was secreting a chemical that was literally poisoning him from the inside out. His 13-day hospital stay included a trip to the operating room.
So they drill a hole in my hip. Now I'm in a wheelchair with cancer in my mouth. So then they do the first surgery, and they open me up from ear to ear, and they begin to remove half of my lymph nodes, and they remove 20% of my tongue, believing that they'll get all the cancer out.
Recovery was difficult and painful, but after 4 months, Jason was excited and ready to get on with his life and ministry.
That was a weird rabbit trail in my story, but it's behind me. It's over. Now I'm going to that promised land. I'm gonna be the pastor God called me to be. I'm gonna partner with Pastor Jeff in Bonita Valley. Let's do this. That's over. I don't know what that was, but I'm going for it. All of a sudden, at the end of June, my tongue, that same thing is on my tongue. I remember the doctor, he looks at it and he says, I don't know what to tell you, but the cancer came back. It came back more aggressive. It's spreading quicker. It's already spread to your neck. It didn't spread this fast last time. This is borderline stage 4 cancer. We have to operate.
At that point, I just felt like I was sinking. I felt like I couldn't breathe.
We're gonna remove most of your tongue. I'm like, no, you already took 20%. I don't have any more tongue to give you. He's like, now we're gonna have to open up your neck again. And I'm like, no, not more staples, not more tubes coming out of my neck. I'm like, no, I can't do that again. I can't go through that again. And he's like, we're gonna remove all the lymph nodes in your neck. But then here's what we're gonna have to do. I'm like, more? Yeah, he says, your arm, to reconstruct your tongue, we're going to take a chunk of your arm, we're gonna form a tongue in your mouth. Oh, and your leg, we're gonna have to take the skin from your leg, we're gonna put that on your arm. I'm like, what?
So when the doctor was talking, I was starting to black out. And so I remember gathering enough energy to tell the doctor and tell Jason, I said, I'll be right back. And then I got right outside, and then I fell right outside the doctor's office because I didn't know how to process that.
I remember him explaining everything. He's like, you're not gonna be able to use your arm for a while. Now I'm a piano player. So he's like, you're not gonna be able to use your arm for a while. I'm a singer and a speaker, and he says, you're not gonna talk the same. You're not gonna be able to talk like you used to talk. We don't even know if you'll be able to sing again. And I remember sitting there where he kept talking, and I literally stopped listening, and I just started crying. I felt so unprofessional. I didn't feel like an adult, like a man in that moment, because I'm just sitting in the chair weeping as the doctor is just telling me what's gonna happen. And I'm like, I can't do this.
But there was no choice. Jason underwent a grueling 15-hour surgery. Afterwards,
he looked just like he had gotten out of a warfare. Like he just was all bandaged up and everything, and he looked like he was, he had taken a pretty hard hit.
But as bad as he looked, he felt even worse.
I'm feeling like I need to throw up. But I can't throw up because my tongue is so swollen. It's so swollen that I can't breathe out of my mouth. So they put a trach, they put a tube in my neck so I can breathe out of my neck. But my body is, rejecting the tube, and so it keeps forming all of this mucus. And I feel like I'm gonna throw up, and I can't get air. And so I would start panicking, my heart rate would jump up, the doctors would run in, and they would take a little vacuum, and they'd put it down my throat to vacuum the mucus, and they would have to do this every 3 to 5 minutes. It was so much stress and panic and pain, and because of that, I couldn't sleep. So 3 days go by, 3 days where I haven't slept. The pain was so bad that they were trying to give me pain medicine, but pain medicine stops you from being able to use the bathroom. And so to compensate, they would then give me lots of Senna, stuff that would help me go. So there's this horrific moment, and I will never forget. I'm laying in the bathroom. I'm laying on the ground, covered in my own waste. And I'm throwing up. I've got mucus pouring out of my neck, blood coming out of my mouth, and I am screaming in pain. I remember in that moment thinking, I can't do this anymore. All I know is simple math. The pain is too much. The only way to end the pain is to die. I remember typing it in Google, easy ways to die. Easy ways to die, because I'm tired of the pain. So if I'm gonna kill myself, I don't want it to hurt. Because I can't, I'm tired of people poking me. I'm tired of being poked in my arm and in my face. I'm tired of them ripping out stitches. So if I'm gonna kill myself, it can't hurt.
I came into the hospital, and I knew he was just in a persistent pain. Usually he can say hi, or usually he can smile, but he couldn't do any of those things.
She can tell I'm not okay, and I can't sleep, and I tell her, I just want to sleep. Sleep is the only thing that might make me forget about the pain, because I can't figure out how to kill myself without hurting myself. So she prays over me, and she begins to do something that she rarely ever does. She begins to sing. She begins to sing over me.
I was fighting the worry, I was fighting the anxiety, I was fighting the fear that the doctors weren't going to be right again. But I just kept on choosing to just worship God and knowing that everything was going to be okay.
And all of a sudden in that moment, I just felt like a presence just enter the room. And it was like if peace was a person, he entered that room in that moment, and I just began to drift off to sleep for the first time in 3 days. I think I slept for 12 hours. I woke up the next day, and I started telling myself I'm not going to give up. That's the only thing. I don't know why I'm not going to give up, but I'm just not going to.
That determination was barely enough to carry Jason through 35 rounds of radiation and 8 weeks of chemotherapy. He could hardly walk, and he was only fed through a tube. Along the way, he lost 80 pounds. As miserable as his present was, he was afraid his future might be worse.
I remember I told Pastor Jeff, my best years are behind me. And he looked at me and he said, I don't believe that. He spoke hope into me. He said, I believe the best is yet to come. And I honestly, I was thankful he said that, but I didn't believe him. I'll never be who I was. I'll never get to sing again. I'll never get to make music again. I might never get to preach again. But then, it was April, it was Easter Sunday, 2017. Pastor Jeff comes to my house and he says, hey, do you feel well enough that I could bring you up on stage on Easter Sunday? The church wants to see how you're doing. And I remember as soon as I walked on the stage, and Pastor Jeff hadn't warned them that I was coming, I remember the whole place stood to their feet, and I felt what it felt like to be a part of a family who will walk with you through any journey in life, a family that will love you even when you've done nothing for them. All I've done is taken from them, and they are welcoming me, and they're standing to their feet, rejoicing with me.
Jason worked hard at his rehab until by summertime his speech was getting clear. And despite his doctor's prediction, he was starting to sing again. But he knew he didn't make that progress on his own, and he wanted to give something back.
There's a song I wrote. I had actually written it, most of it I wrote before I got cancer. I didn't know why I wrote it, who I wrote it for. But I realize now, like, it's almost become my anthem. And I told Pastor Jeff, I'd like to share my song with my church family. After many painful surgeries, the cancer came back. I had to do more surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation. They told me you might not sing again. You might not even speak again. But I'm here today. I'm standing, I'm walking, I'm jumping. And now I get to sing and speak about the goodness of God. You are greater than these walls I'm circling. You are stronger than this army that I see. You are bigger, oh, than the mountains that I face. And I would choose to only praise you.
A few days later, the song was posted on Facebook, so people who missed the service live could see it. But they weren't the only ones.
All of a sudden, after 2 days, it's got 200,000 views. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Wow, like, people are being blessed by it. A week later, it hits 1 million views. And we're kind of just this feeling of like, wait, what's happening? All of a sudden, we have people from Korea who fly to California to visit our church to see what is happening here. All of a sudden, I got people in Sweden and Australia and the UK who are messaging us and saying, hey, I have tongue cancer too. Other people saying, I stopped painting because of my illness. I stopped dancing because of my disease. I stopped singing because the first time I heard myself sing in the shower, I broke down crying because of the tongue cancer. But when I saw your story, I decided I want my own comeback story.
Since then, These Walls has been seen by over 6 million people around the world. It's been released on CD and iTunes. It's been produced as a music video. It's being sung in over 25 languages in 50 different countries each week, and its influence continues to spread.
If I could go back in time and not go through cancer, I would do that. I think there's this dangerous thing when we make people feel that the pain you've gone through, you have to pretend like it was okay. It's okay what your dad did to you. It's okay that you went through a divorce, because look at you now. You're stronger. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Sometimes what doesn't kill you just makes you want to kill yourself. That was me. So I don't like the false narrative that everything, you have to look back at your life and be like, oh, it's okay, because it wasn't okay. It was bad. It was dark. But that's what Resurrection Sunday is. What happened to Jesus was not okay. Him being nailed to a cross, being tortured, was not okay. But Resurrection Sunday is about Jesus taking the things in your life that are not okay. They represent death and darkness and despair and hopelessness, and Him saying, watch the ultimate comeback. I can redeem it. I can bring what was dead back to life. And now I look back and I see what a comeback. Like, He did it, and He gets all the glory, and the only thing I can do is never give up.
This is my song, this is my dare, to worship You, even as the